Today we dive into 3 gut-wrenching betrayals: a lover caught in a photo, a spouse endangering lives, and a father's new girlfriend pushing a teen out. The phone buzzed, a picture from a distant city flashed across the screen, my ex-fiancé, hand intertwined with a stranger, smiling under bright mall lights. My heart stopped. I'd been trying to rebuild trust, but that single image ripped the fragile piece apart. I stared, breath shallow, as the realization hit: all the promises, the tears, the we're over-communicating excuses, were a lie. The image was the final nail in a coffin I'd been desperately trying to keep closed. In that instant, everything I thought I knew collapsed. We'd been together for 6 years, 4 of them engaged, building a life that felt unbreakable. We met through a mutual friend, clicked instantly, and shared hobbies, dreams, and a small apartment. Friends called us the couple that never fights. I thought we'd survived every storm, that our love could weather any temptation. Our future felt mapped out: marriage, kids, a house. The betrayal cut deeper because the foundation felt so solid. I had imagined introducing her to my parents, planning vacations, and never anticipated that a single photo could undo a decade of shared history. Weeks before the photo, she started dressing more provocatively, staying out late, and dismissing my invitations to join her girls' nights. When I asked, she claimed it was a female-only tradition, and I accepted, though a lingering unease grew. Her phone became a guarded device, notifications silenced, and I caught her smiling at messages I couldn't read. Small lies about work overtime turned into bigger gaps in our schedule. I tried to ignore the gut feeling, convincing myself that trust was enough, but the red flags kept flashing louder each day. When the photo arrived, I confronted her with the image, demanding an explanation. She first denied, eyes darting, then broke down, admitting the affair had been ongoing for months. She begged for forgiveness, promised to cut ties, and swore she loved me. My mind raced between anger, heartbreak, and a desperate hope that we could salvage something. I felt my world tilt as I realized the depth of her deception. The conversation ended with her packing, my hands shaking, and the crushing weight of knowing I'd been living a lie. I called both families, shared the truth, and let the police handle the evidence. I sought therapy, leaned on close friends, and gave myself permission to grieve. Weeks later, I deleted her contact, turned off notifications, and focused on rebuilding my own life. I returned to work with a renewed sense of self-respect, started running again, and eventually found peace in singlehood. The betrayal still stings, but I now know my worth isn't defined by someone else's infidelity. I'm moving forward, stronger than before. From a lover's betrayal we shift to a different kind of hurt, a spouse whose help endangers lives. One night I returned from a call, exhausted, only to find my boots tied in a knot by my wife's hands. She smiled apologetically, thinking she was being tidy. I felt a surge of panic. Every second spent untangling could mean a delayed response in a life-or-death situation. The knot wasn't just a nuisance, it was a threat to the people I swore to save. My anger flared, not just at the knot, but at the persistent disregard for the urgency of my work. We'd been married 5 years, sharing a small house, weekend hikes, and late-night talks about my emergency medical career. She loved my dedication, often bringing me coffee and leaving notes of encouragement. Our friends described us as the perfect pair, she supportive, I protective. I tried to explain the critical nature of my gear, but she saw my boots as just another pair of shoes. The love was real, but the gap between our worlds grew wider each time she helped without understanding the stakes. Early signs were subtle. She'd rearrange my medical bag for aesthetic reasons, lock my helmet in the closet, and comment on how neat my life could be. I brushed it off, thinking it was harmless. Over months, she began tying my boots, moving my stethoscope, and even cleaning my night shift uniform. Each act felt like a tiny intrusion, but they accumulated into a pattern that threatened my ability to respond quickly. I mentioned my concerns, but she laughed, saying she was just being caring. The breaking point arrived after a call involving a severe overdose. I rushed to the scene, only to realize my boots were still tied from the night before. I fumbled, lost precious seconds, and the victim's condition worsened. Back at home, I confronted her, showing videos of emergency responders emphasizing seconds matter. She finally saw the gravity, tears streaming, and admitted she'd never imagined my gear could be a matter of life or death. The room felt heavy with both hurt and newfound understanding. We attended couples counseling, where I let her into the reality of my calls, showing her body cam footage and explaining protocols. She apologized, promised to leave my equipment untouched, and even joined me for a ride-along to witness the stakes firsthand. Today she still keeps the house tidy, but she respects my space and gear. I've learned to communicate urgency clearly, and she's begun her own therapy for obsessive habits. Together we've rebuilt trust, turning a knot of betrayal into a stronger, more compassionate partnership. Now we travel to a teenage perspective, a daughter forced out by her dad's new girlfriend. I packed my bags after my dad's girlfriend told me I was no longer welcome. Her words cut deep, echoing through the hallway as I left the house I'd called home for 15 years. My heart pounded, tears blurred the familiar front door, and a cold wind seemed to whisper that I didn't belong. The sudden exile felt like a betrayal not just from a stranger, but from the man who raised me. I walked away, feeling abandoned and unheard. My dad and I had a close bond. We shared jokes, weekend fishing trips, and late-night talks about school. When he met his new girlfriend, I tried to be supportive, even inviting her to family gatherings. At first, she seemed kind, but slowly she began to dominate conversations, criticize my habits, and claim the house needed a fresh start. I felt invisible, watching my dad smile at her while I lingered on the porch, longing for the connection we once had. The red flags appeared when she started rearranging my room, moving my belongings and commenting on my messy lifestyle. She subtly discouraged my visits with my grandparents, suggesting I spend more time at home. My dad dismissed my concerns, saying she was just trying to help. I noticed her quiet whispers to him about my grades, my friends, and even my future plans. Each comment felt like a slow erasure of my place in his life, building a wall I couldn't climb. The final blow came when she asked my dad to move my things into storage without my permission. I overheard her telling him I was a burden and that it would be better for everyone if I lived with my grandparents. My dad's silence was deafening. I confronted them both, demanding an explanation. The girlfriend shrugged, saying I was too old for my age, and my dad finally admitted he felt squeezed. I realized I had been silently pushed out, not by a single act, but by a steady campaign. I called my grandparents, who welcomed me with open arms. They became my new safe haven, offering love and stability. My dad eventually reached out, apologizing and promising to work on boundaries. I started therapy to process the betrayal and learned to set firm limits with new partners in his life. Today I live with my grandparents, excel at school, and have rebuilt my confidence. The pain remains, but I now understand that I deserve respect, regardless of anyone else's romance. Betrayal takes many forms, but each story proves we can rise above the hurt. Remember, you are stronger than any lie. Which story hit hardest today? Let me know in the comments.